Hey, this is Melissa Greer again. Today we're going to talk about tightening up your must-have list for your home search. And in this market, it really is beneficial to have more flexibility when you're searching for a home. So a lot of times I ask people, what do you want in a home? And they'll say, I want this fenced yard, we want a nice kitchen, we want an open floor plan. So at this point in time, I always say, if we can get you exactly what you want, we're going to do that, but let's keep an open mind when we're looking. Because you can paint, you can open up a floor plan a little bit, you can absolutely fence in a yard, and we have all sorts of people that we can connect you with that do that. The best thing to do is think of what is your must, what is your must-have, and what do you need that is not flexible. Then what are your like-to-haves? And if you must have a garage, but we find you a house where there's room to build one and it's on the lower end of your price point, that could be something that helps. So that's what you really have to determine is where can we be flexible because our inventory is so low? And then what are the things you have to have? Usually involves number of bedrooms, number of baths, whether you do want a certain style that would be really hard to replicate if you didn't have it. The best way to manage your budget in reference to your wish list is think about your price point. And on the lower end, it doesn't have to be everything because you might have some money to renovate or create what you want. If it's at the top of your price point, it needs to be exactly what you want because you won't have the extra budget to do any renovations or modifications. So that's usually how we look at it is if say someone's looking in a $25,000 price point. Well, if it's on the low end and it doesn't have a garage and you think eventually you could build one and there's room for it, that'd be okay. If it's not your personal taste, but we feel like you could paint it or if it needs updates, you've got a budget to work with. If it's at the very top of your price point, it does need to have pretty much everything you want. When you're coming up with your must-have list, there are things you really do need to consider. And what I recommend people do is really visualize how you live in your home. Visualize what you do in the current place you're living. And think about, can we visualize ourselves living in this one? Can we visualize ourselves at night? Years ago, I had a guy I worked with, and I thought it was so interesting. Any house he was interested in, he wanted to go back and see it at night. And I said, well, hi. And he said, well, that's when I'm home. So I can really visualize better how we would live in it when it's nighttime. And I always remembered that, and I thought that's such a great idea. In years past, in the olden days, when we had a lot more to show, I'd have a relo client come in and have 25 houses to show them in a weekend. And when you're looking at that many homes and none of them quite fit what you're looking for, you really need to have someone, and it could be me, it could be that you do it yourself, guide you with a vision of what it could be. So usually I tell people when I first meet them, be honest with me. Unless I take you to my own home, you don't have to love any house I show you. And mine's not for sale. So that's the first thing I like to say. But please be honest with me so I can learn. I need to educate myself, and then I can help guide you with any vision to make any changes. Or if there's something you don't like that can't be fixed, we can realize it while we're there. So that's the kind of thing that if you partner with a good realtor, they can help you in that process. So when you're looking to renovate and you want to decide how much work it needs and what would be acceptable, it's really about your tolerance and your ability to do things. For instance, I'm not handy whatsoever at all. And so for any renovation that I would do at my own home, I would have to pay someone to do that. And that makes a difference. If I knew how to do certain things, it would open up the options for me a little bit. So that's the biggest thing is you need to figure out what can you do, what do you have to pay to have someone do, and then figure out what your budget is. And then also another important thing with this type of purchase is explore some renovation loans. Any realtor you work with should be able to connect you with lenders who specialize in that. And there may be a way to finance these renovations in your purchase. There's certain things like the number of bedrooms. If you really want 4 bedrooms and it is a 3-bedroom house with no extra bonus flex space, then it would be hard to do that unless you added on to it. If you want a certain type of location, I mean, obviously that's important. If you need space for in-laws or guests and you need that and there's no option to do that other than build it. But if it has a basement or an unfinished space that you could convert, then that's a possibility too. So those are the kind of things, really specific needs. If you have to have an open floor plan and it's a home where the kitchen's at one end and the living space is at another, that's a really expensive renovation. So if they're beside each other, which now a lot of times we can pull a floor plan or a Matterport tour and see exactly how it's laid out, sometimes you can open those areas up even if you just cut a hole in the wall and have an opening. So that's the kind of thing that it just depends on the layout. One thing that you always have to do as an agent is take everything with a grain of salt. I've sold more 2-bedroom houses to people who said they only wanted a 3 and above. It's just, what you have to realize, I think, is that people know it's a home. And my marketing, that's all we market, is that I don't believe this is a sales job. I feel like it's a service because this is your home. And that's a feeling. It's intangible. So when you walk in, I mean, you know it. You know it pretty much the minute you walk in, and I know it because I can see people react. And it's really special to do that. But I can tell whether someone tells me or not whether it's the house for them because it's something more important. Now, if you're working with an investor, that's a little bit different. But if you're working with someone who's really looking for a home, they know the minute they walk in, they feel the energy, they can feel themselves living there. It's not a whole lot that I have to do. So this covers any tips I might have for putting together your must-have list and really keeping your mind open during the buying process. Thanks again so much for listening.